Comes that matters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello there, everyone. Hi, Vorian.
Hi, Rita.
Oh, it's so good to be here. And we are really going to talk about an important series that we have introduced, right?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
very excited about it.
yeah, me too. So, what we're doing is we're kicking off by doing these lives to focus on an influence mastery series that we have put together the last over 6 weeks. And it is influence, how to shape outcomes that matters. And one of the things that we discovered in the work with clients is that many clients are so driven by big missions. They know exactly what they want to shape, they know where they want to go, and time is of the essence. And then the question is, why are things being delayed? Why isn't it moving as fast as they want? And then going into the details, we started to see that there was a pattern. And the pattern was that when they're faced with, let's say, either a conflict or really putting a stake in the ground for what they want so that they can move the needle really fast, they didn't stand firmly in who they were, what they believed in. They suddenly felt that they were giving away time to people please, to see if they could settle things without deeply knowing how to argue their own case, how to negotiate for what they truly wanted. And this is a critical point when we're thinking about you're on a mission to solve some complex problems, and there is a time delay because you don't put a clear ask in the ground, or you're really bringing forward uh, what matters to you. So that's what we decided to create an intensive mastery series, in particular the influence how to shape outcomes that matters. And these are a series of 5 weeks, 5 sessions. So Vorian and I, right, we are going to introduce this to all of you by taking you through it from a conversational point of view. So
Uh,
Vorian, what do you
yes.
have to, what do you have to say?
No, absolutely what you're saying. And also that our clients came and said, why am I not able to get through my ideas? Why are they stopping? What am I doing wrong? Why isn't it not working for me? Or why do I feel that putting out really good ideas there and then somebody else runs with them as if it was their ideas? Why is this happening to me? And so we are getting all of these questions all the time, and it has a lot to do with the doing. How do we present our ideas? How do we run with them ourselves? How do we take charge of the situations so that we get the outcomes that we want? And this is a lot of what we will be working with during these 5 weeks, or what we do is, how do I take charge? How do I take charge of myself, the room, the situation, and make sure that I get through with what I believe is really important.
Yeah. I think one of the really big takeaways that I love is there's so much talk about, oh, you need executive presence, you need to stand like this and do like that. And what we really discovered is that it really comes from, are you are you fighting for something that deeply matters to you? So it's not an act, it's actually something coming from inside of you. And when you're feeling that it comes from a deep belief system and you're focusing on being clear and succinct and speak about that, a lot of the other things falls into place. And I remember myself, when did I really realize what influence means. How fast can you actually influence outcomes that matters? And for me, it takes me back when my son Benjamin, he was only 6 months old, and he was faced with the challenge of the medical situation where time was of the essence. We talk about will he live or will he die over the next 24 hours? And of course, I'm fighting for the life of my son. And he had something called Clostridium. There was nothing to really cure it. And I come across this article where I see that, there is a trial on cows where they use feces to heal the cows. So now what happens with me is that I have something that matters. I am fighting for my son's life, right? That's what matters. I have something I want. I want the doctors to take this method that has never been done on children before. I want them to do this on my son. I couldn't go in there and persuade them and articulate it in a nice way. I had to be clear with my ask. So I went in and I said, hey, I've read this article. There is a professor in Bergen. He tested this thing out on cows. I want us to look into, can we do this on my son? And as you can imagine, the doctor was like, are you going nuts? Like, we want to save your son, but we're not going to do this. So I needed then to understand where he was coming from. And I needed to know why this deeply mattered to me. So I simply asked him, can you connect with the doctor in Bergen, the professor? So we're agreeing to something, but I'm very firm in what I want. And I have an energy that comes through me because I'm very focused on what outcome do I want, which lead to him doing that, which lead to giving my son the treatment, which leads to curing him in 2 hours. That is when I realized ways of influencing outcomes that deeply matters. And that is why I also know that when you know what you stand for and you know what the why, things starts to shift. I'm curious about you, Vorian. I mean, the experience you have in this being versus the doing, the be do, that is the academy that you're coming from. But the being, what does it matter for you?
Yes, I just want to say I really love your stories and the life that you have lived with Benjamin and all of those incredible learnings and living very much on the edge of life all the
Mm,
time, which is it has been an inspiration for me to really be with you through this and with you and learning from you in this. As you know, my life has been different in that sense because I haven't had something in particular to fight for in that way. But I grew up in a very complicated family constellation with a father that most likely is bipolar. He's now above 80, and we didn't have those diagnoses at the time, but we can see it from trickling down into the family,
mm,
and a very narcissistic mother. And it's very easy in a setting like this to lose yourself and to know who you are yourself and always being there, accommodating, fixing, reading the room, and changing to accommodate what's going on. And also being very confused then. You try to find your way and argue your way, and you will never win with these kind of people. Never. It just becomes very chaotic. And then it has taken me a long time to actually understand and believe in if I can stand steady in my own being and finding myself, who am I? Ask myself, who am I?
mm,
And what is important to me?
mm.
And believe that that means something, at least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I can act from there, then everything changes. So going back to your center. And this is something, Rita, that you really, I mean, I worked on it all my life,
Mm.
but you have beautifully put it and given so good exercises and making that real in life. So for me, that has been a game changer. And I know that with other people that have been with you in this
Mm.
learning to be, yeah, learning to stand in your being.
Yeah.
And of course, I am a very spiritual person. I'm very much into Eastern philosophies. I've meditated. I'm a yoga teacher, which also has been part of that journey, of course.
Mm.
But when we know who we are and what we want and have then a mission.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I find it interesting that it's so easy for us to constantly I mean, forget to check in with ourselves and who are we? Who am I being any moment in time? Who am I being? What matters to me? And some think that it's impossible to really know all of these questions. But what I'm saying is that the body responds very quickly to who you're being because it either gives you joy in certain things you do, or it actually drains your energy. So understanding uh, what energy gives you when you work on things that really matters is important to understand. Um,
Absolutely. I also think what is important there is that when we move out, so we know who we are being and start to learn that. But as soon as we move into the world, which we do all the time in meeting with other people, whether that is with family, with friends, and definitely at work, and people start to criticize or they're not happy, or we feel there is a resistance, or we come with good ideas. Well, that is when we really put to a test how well do I know myself? How am I navigating this resistance, this friction, this I'm not feeling really comfortable? Somebody's poking into my fears. And then a lot of things happen. And
yeah,
that's when we get to all, it's a constant work. As you said, we can't know who we are because we are in progress
yeah,
all life.
yeah.
But this is when we get to to test ourselves, come back
Mm.
and learn and constantly be in this learning loop with life.
Yeah, yeah, and it is the more we get to know about ourselves, the kind of easier it is to have the feeling of resistance when
Yes.
we're faced with resistance. Uh, I remember in the last round that we were running over the 5 weeks, um, one of the participants, what we discovered was that the reason for maybe not getting to the point that they wanted as fast as they wanted was that they were really about hiding their impact. Like in one way, I what I do really matters, but I'm also scared of maybe being seen as too much, or I'm too this, I'm too that. So when you're then going into critical situations or you're going into whatever influence, and in one way you're scared of your own power of impact and you're starting to hide this impact. Well, now that makes you leak energy. And the interesting thing in that part of the experience that they had was that when that became so clear, like, do you understand how much energy you are spending on actually hiding because you think you need to please everyone, you need to understand everyone, you need to do all these things? That instead of focusing on your ask, what you want, what really matters to you, your body is mobilizing to make sure I don't speak too loud or I don't do all these things. Oh, what a contradiction. So this is where, when we talk about the being, we identify the being, but it's not enough to identify the being. We get to identify what you and I are going to talk about the next time. What gets in the way from
Yeah.
actually going in the being?
Yeah. Yes, and make this being much stronger. So it's always a flow between being and doing and being and doing. Because as soon as we can be in our own room and we know exactly who we are, what we want, what role we have, and then we go out into doing, and the being is being shaked.
Yeah.
And we're like in a storm.
Yeah.
And then how far are you drifting away from that original being? Because of a lot of things that take place that are also something is triggered within ourselves that we might not have been aware of.
Yeah.
And then we need to come back to, okay, this is something I get to deal with. And then we learn and then we move out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the doing then on how we can't be in a perpetual self-reflection world because we also have things to be done that we want to get done in the company that we're working for. We have a mission on our own if we are entrepreneurs and so on. So we also want things to be done at the same time as we have self-reflection and growth.
Yeah.
And I think that the getting things done and having those outcomes that we want while we are learning about ourselves, that is what we are working with.
Yes, and this is the intention behind this mastery series, and in particular, the influence how to shape outcomes that matter. That why is it important for individuals, but it's also important for the company. Either you run your own company or you're a leader in your own company or in a company, and that is to speed up the process, uh, actually, so we get things done. Not that we are almost fiddling around and wasting time. So this intensive 5 week series, it is to move you fast into taking ownership of who you are, who you're being, and then what gets to be done. So again, the difference in this series compared to a lot of the other trainings out there is that we do start about who are you. You actually, who you are matters on the outcomes. We can take all the
Absolutely.
techniques, but if the who you are is the most important part in this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And also then knowing who we are and what is the outcome I'm working for will take away a lot of the conflicts and things that we pick up on and spend time on that don't lead us anywhere,
Yeah.
but into a rabbit hole. So
Mm.
that is also something that becomes very clear when you know who you're being, who you are and what you want to be, because sometimes we might be something and want to be something else. So we bridge that gap, but then we have that mission that we are on,
Yeah.
and everything else should just fall to the sides so that we can do what we want to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we're going to rest it now and we will run another live, and that is basically on the topic of what gets in the way, right?
Yes,
Perfect.
definitely.
Okay, so join us and leave comments, and we will engage with you. Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.